fog happens usually because you have tremendous amount of stress. Your amygdala goes into fight or flight mode and you're exposed to toxins. We all start thinking about ourselves as light beings. Photovoltaic clouds. Black cumin seed oil is very, very good for detoxing. Avoid sugars at all costs. Drink not just plain water. You can drink water that is enhanced with trace minerals or with a little bit of salt. A pinch of salt will do it.
Neuropsychologist, neurophysiologist, founder, and CEO at Think Interfaces. Our guest today on the Settle or Be Better podcast is Dr. Lana Morrow, who's going to be talking to us about cognitive brain function, dopamine hacks, neurotechnology, and a lot more. So, welcome, Dr. Lana, and over to you. Why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your current work?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's such a big honor to be your guest. Among all the illuminated guests that you have, I feel very privileged and honored. Thank you. And hope you're having a great day. Thank you for your audience for attending this interview. And I would be honored to introduce myself. So my company is called Think Interfaces, and I can be found on thinkinterfaces.com. We create interfaces between brain and computer, which means that we are state-of-the-art company, state-of-the-art device that interfaces your frequencies and your photovoltaic energy between the brain. It's non-invasive and organic, and it feeds it into the computer and enables your own potentiation, your own capacity of the brain and your mind to function much better to the full potential. If there is an issue, that is of malfunction of the brain or of not peak performance, the system training, 1 hour, 5 times in a row, it literally resets the brain to the full potential. I also create different seminars and webinars on my site, and people can access that. Some are, free of charge. Some are really wonderfully informative. And we create Dopa hacks. We offer training for peak performance, both in sports and in work phase. We create different modalities for people to increase their focus, memory, and enhance their peak performance overall.
Amazing. That's really interesting. And it's one of a kind thing that I am personally listening to for the first time or being introduced to. So I'm sure a lot of our audience would also be very intrigued listening to this. And just to sort of give a better picture of this, how does it really work? Like, how does a user sort of optimize this technology? Like, is this something wearable, or how is this process like?
Thank you for asking that. So there are various ways of doing it. There is Think Interfaces is a device, and we perform it in person or online. So there are both options. In
Yeah.
person is very intense, and it's performed usually in Austin, Texas, out of our offices at Alive and Well in Big Cape. Or if I travel to London or Paris or Amsterdam or Miami, LA, various places, then it can be performed also in person in those places. Otherwise, I can do it online. It's usually in Ether. And what we do, we put the system over my head and transmit it in real time in a very, it's in Ether and quantum. So it works really in real time. And we have had tremendously good results with that. All of this is medically backed up. Other modalities are simple classes or sets of elements that we can actually use at home. You can access it on my website, on our website, thinkinterfaces.com, and people can simply use the methodology or the supplements, which are by design and they enable you to utilize your brain power and brain function at a much higher level. They're a conglomerate of exercises, physical exercises, lifestyle routines, as well as simple, supplements or treatments that you take from mostly based on detox or enhancing your brain function at the very sophisticated levels.
Amazing. That was really well explained and definitely gives us a better picture about the whole process. And firstly, I'd like to say that we would love to have you in India sometime. I can't really wait to host you in India and for our audience to really be introduced to this more in person. So I'm really waiting for that time. And it's lovely. I'm sure that our audience would definitely reach out or, at least learn more about Think Interfaces and all the programs that you offer. The details are in the description below, so they will definitely be able to reach out that way. And to dive in
Definitely.
right into our conversation today, let's begin by talking about healing our brain. I've heard you talk about this a lot, and it's really interesting. And to begin with, what is it that we really want to heal our brain from, and what are the ways that we can do it?
Well, as you know, we're going through a really stressful time as a society right now. And I think a lot of us are now trying to help humanity and elevate humanity to the next level. And that in India, I have a lot of teachers of mine in Rishikesh and above. And
Oh,
what
wow.
we do, we teach, I study Vedic meditation, but I also study Ayurveda with Dr. Raju. Mm, I mean, actually, I collaborate with them. And what I think, in my perspective, my humble opinion, is that we need to detox as much as we possibly can. And once you detox the mitochondria at mitochondrial levels, especially inner walls of mitochondria, and you detox your gut. So there's all along the intestinal, gut, and heart, and then brain level. These are three pilasters of the axis upon which then we can actually activate our forces of electrovoltaic and photovoltaic energies. What does that mean? That means that you can actually clean up your energy. In India, you would call it prana, or in Eastern medicine we call it chi. It's an energy field that we clean up from any toxins. And right now, we're being we ingest toxins. We are even organic food is intoxified right now. So even they're spraying the chemtrails, so we obviously inhale. We even inhale nanoparticles and electromagnetic, fierce force receptors, and enhance that with charges, negative charges from the computers, from the devices, from telephones. We end up essentially scrambling our originally well functioning photovoltaic field. And so my goal is to literally reset these grids within our body and our photovoltaic sphere, and reset it with very optimal charges. And usually they're what we require is negative charge. So negative polarization to actually optimize the functioning of the, whether it's within a brain or adjacent to our body as our human cloud, H cloud, in a very organic and non-invasive way. That's my goal.
Amazing. That's beautiful. And I hope that we all get to experience that someday. And like you talked about healing the gut, right, in order to work with this and in order to heal your brain in the process.
Yes.
There's a lot of importance, and there are a lot of talks these days about the gut brain axis, the gut brain connection. And if you could just touch up a
Yes.
little bit about that, and how can we really understand this and approach this in the right ways? Because, like you rightly said, that there's so much toxic overload in our system, in our environments today. Even the food that we eat,
Correct.
like even if we try to source it as much as possible, as good as possible, there would still be some toxins we would be ingesting. So how would we sort of like manage this in, and anybody can do that, like if they have busy jobs, they might not have as many expenses to spare for this. So what would be the easiest way to sort of work on the gut brain axis, the gut brain connection, and heal our brain on the way?
It's a very good question and a very practical question. Very easy way, and maybe not always, extremely pleasant, but it's an enema, or if you can afford it, the colonics. And I usually suggest to my clients to go for colonics with oxygen addition, or ozone addition, or chlorophyll addition. You can also do coffee enema at home, or you can buy liquid oxygen, on Amazon, and pop the drops in the distilled water, as long as it's purified water or boiled water. And you can pop in either chloroxygen, or add some liquid oxygen in it, and that will do the bit that will enhance the potentiation of that cleanse. So that's one approach. Black cumin seed oil is very, very good for detoxing. Ivermectin, of course. We're aiming at detoxing the parasites, but also then replenishing the flora. So you can add on to that the supplements. I'm a big proponent of pure chlorella. I think it's very important to get them maybe from Taiwan, the cleaner versions.
Right.
There are websites that propose that. There is a beautiful website that I use a lot. It's called Activation Products by Ian Clark, and very, very reliable company. They create Oceans Alive system for detoxification, and iodine, and their particular force of the iodine is very strong. So it's almost more like a medical grade iodine that you can still administer at home. And all these products are really reasonably priced. They're very accessible to everybody. You can do it at home. And or you can work with a professional like myself or somebody else, and just access it through the guidance. But the first element of all of that is to detox. And what happens is that once you detox, you can actually replenish your spinal liquid. And essentially, if you are involving your own detoxification of the body through the synovial fluid enrichment, for example, that not only brings the nutrients to the brain, passing the blood-brain barrier rather quickly, but it actually enhances it bathes your brain in nutrients, especially through the third ventricle and fourth ventricle, which then gives the food to regulate the pineal gland activation, and it charges the pineal gland with purified elements. Another very good way of doing it is through pine needle tinctures. I like Ascent Nutrition, and I like again, Dr. Clark's products are really, really pure. The goal is to find out very pure products and pure elements so that you can actually enhance the capability. Shilajit and proper salt, purified salt, any type of Celtic salt or marine salt would be really important to intake. And when you're on a cleanse, you can do a ratio of like 1 teaspoon over a liter of water and drink that. It'll purify, and you can do that for 3 to 4 days. And it's a bit aggressive, but it definitely cleanses not only your gut, but provides then minerals for your brain. And in that level, once you activate the synovial fluid, and you can combine that with some breath exercises. I really appreciate the neurologically based breath exercises that are combined with Kriya breath, taught to me by my teacher Anand Mehrotra at Sattva Academy in Rishikesh. All of those techniques combined, you can actually then activate not only the fluid of the fluid movement, synovial fluid movement that brings then activation of the central nervous system, but you can then activate dopamine and regulate dopamine and serotonin in the brain, and activate also that vortex between the pineal and the pituitary gland, which then is necessary for activation of your seventh and eighth chakra, which then enables you to go into divinity consciousness state, or a state of the flow, of spiritual flow. So you're addressing everything at once, in systematic way.
Amazing. That was really beautifully explained. And just, I had one question with this, that when you talk about us mixing it with water and having the whole day, or say for 2, 3 days, are we still consuming solid foods, or are we still doing the water cleanse at this point?
You can do both. I mean, if you when I guide the activations, of the essentially this is the activation of your photovoltaic being, and H cloud, by purifying everything at the beginning and then activating and providing nutrients. I do use specific think supplements, and think smoothies that I suggest to people to take during the cleanse, so you don't have to starve yourself completely. Or you can go on, the keto camp cleanse, which is basically fasting. You can embark on intermittent fasting if you want to, which is also a very good way of doing it. You can go on water fast if you're feeling that inclined in that direction. You can definitely have so what happens with fasting is that if you do it systematically, even if you do intermittent fasting, like 24 hours, and then at the end of the day you eat, you can break the fast with specific, fatty foods, or meat. If you're not vegetarian, if you're vegetarian, you can insert some really wonderful vegetables that are grilled, and they can be very tasty. You can spice them up with cayenne pepper. You can spice them up with fennel seeds. I use a lot of fennel, mostly on Mediterranean land. You can also activate, turmeric and black pepper, as you know, and add some pure, unadulterated organic olive oil, or coconut oil. And all of that can actually really enhance your balance in your system. If you go on several days fast, Dr. Mindy and my friend Ben Azadi, they have several books out. Ben released the Keto Camp, highly recommending his fasts and his approach. The Keto Camp leads people in fasting properly and under the guidance. Again, you can enjoy his program. Dr. Mindy as well has a book out called Fast Like a Girl, taking in consideration your hormonal changes. So they're, wonderfully enhanced possibilities of resetting your not only gut, but your overall, enhancement of your functionality.
Right, of course. And that was actually my next question, that what role does fasting play in this process? And you rightly answered that, because I feel like that's one of the cheapest things available to us right now if we do it in the right way,
Yes.
and it really doesn't take any expenses. It's the most available thing
No.
to us, and it's quite easy as well, right? So I feel like that's the
Yes.
easiest thing that we should start doing. And of course we need to refer to coaches like you or Dr. Mindy, for that, and to get more details about it. So definitely that's a great insight.
Absolutely.
And also some of the things that you mentioned are very easily available in an Indian kitchen. So people might not even need to step out and buy more things in order to do this. A lot of things that you mentioned, we already have it in Indian kitchens, and I'm sure we can make good
Absolutely.
use of this. So that was really insightful. Thank you for sharing that with us. And moving
Yeah,
ahead,
you're
let's
welcome.
talk about, sorry.
I said, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to share. And we're all here to walk each other home, because, as Baba Ram Das says, we have to be elevating the humanity right now. It's really all about elevation of the humanity, and we're all one big tribe. For me, it's
Absolutely.
all about union. We're being enticed to be divided. I'm just all about, let's all be united together. Let's hold each other's hands, and let's go to the next level.
Absolutely. That's really lovely to know. And I hope that our listeners are taking notes right now, because you just mentioned like so many details in the last 5 minutes that can be very
Thank
easily
you.
applied. So I hope that they're doing it right now. And moving on to the next segment, let's start talking about cognitive brain function. And firstly, to address that, what other common mistakes that you have observed people make in their daily lifestyle without even noticing how it is like affecting our cognitive brain function in some or the other way? Because some of these things might be part of our culture or a family or our habits, over the years, and we don't even realize what it's going to do in the long run. So firstly, what are the mistakes that we might be making unknowingly, and secondly is what are some do's that you would think about, or that you always suggest people that we can definitely start doing in order to improve our cognitive brain function?
So, very, very interesting question. I like the way you formulate a lot of your thinking. Um, People think that brain is finite. And so I would invite everybody to not to think about brain being just an organ in 3D. I would appreciate if we all start thinking about ourselves as light beings, photovoltaic clouds. Photon means, photons, sources of light, particles of light, and voltaic energy, energy charge. So when you combine the energetic charge of the electricity or other type of energy charges and light, magic happens. It can also be combined with the sound, with the frequency of sound, which I highly recommend. And between the two or three, you end up expanding your own human cloud, your own photovoltaic being. So think of it as not in 3D. 3D includes essentially just the space and the limited areas of the brain within the skull. We think of it as a blob of matter inside the cranium. I would invite everybody to think about ourselves as light beings. And this is not just a metaphor. It's actually more true and more exact scientifically than what we have been taught, what we have been taught at school. Physics now shows that the universe is conscious, we are conscious, our photovoltaic cloud is conscious. So by thinking of yourself and feeling, actually there are ways of tapping into yourself and being able to actually feel this photovoltaic cloud. Jedi masters and gurus in India and in Far East, they have all expressed that knowledge for many many millennia. I don't think that we're stepping only within tens of thousands of years of existence of the human race. I think it goes much more at a vaster level, but that's another topic altogether. I think that if you can invite yourself to really start thinking radically every day, starting your day with gratitude. I think people forget to be grateful. Even a simple thing as grateful for, okay, I can breathe this morning. I woke up and, there is sunshine. There is sunshine in my heart. My pillow is really soft and wonderful. Simple things like that. I can breathe. I can stand up on my legs. I can see. These are everyday beauties that are, tremendous miracles. And if we remind ourselves that we are a walking miracle, we're a walking cloud of information. You start the day with an intention of, okay, I'll make it a great day. And I'm an agent. I am a protagonist of my own life. I co-create my life with divinity consciousness. Nobody's telling me what to do. This is not random. This is on purpose. My life is on purpose. All those things you can actually include in your everyday cognitive function, and your thinking becomes much more clear. Even just assertively stating, okay, I'm going to put myself in the state of mind today that I'll be clear minded. That simple assertion will actually lead you to being more mindful during the day, and you can maybe start the day with a glass of lemon water instead of just starting immediately with coffee. You can try switching the coffee with green tea or matcha. You can do little, we call them dopa hacks. They're tiny little things that you can do under 2 minutes, but they're priceless because they bring you to the state of awareness. Another tendency that people have is that the misnomer of like meditation or cognitive ability to enhance your state of mind, it has to take a long journey. It can all be done in like milliseconds. you simply address it through being more mindful in a minute, under a minute. You look at the sun for, at the surface of water for like maybe a minute or 30 seconds. That's already better. You put your hands underneath the faucet, flowing water, and you feel this cold water on your hands. You can put a bowl of cold water into the bowl with some ice and think your face in it, and you refresh everything. Or there are many, many different ways of waking yourself up to the point that you can actually remind yourself that you're a sentient, powerful being. And there are many other elements, but I think that those few little hacks, the dopa hacks of instantaneous, remediation, I think that really works.
Amazing. And since you did talk about how important it is for us to be consciously grateful every morning and these little practices, I heard you talk about a very interesting thing is that how we have constantly heard about people talk and also experience how thoughts create a reality, right? Like how thoughts affect the way we live our lives or how our life happens,
Yes.
right? But how does it really, how do thoughts create new brain cells?
So, neurogenesis, which you're talking about, there are two components to it. Neurogenesis is happening all the time, even though people were led to believe that our brain stops functioning, just like a misnomer of the fact that they're saying, well, the brain, you're using only 2% or 10% of the brain. That's absolutely not true. If we were doing that, we would not be able to walk and talk at the same time. Or our brain is a symphony of the spheres, and many, many elements are involved all the time. Um, One of the elements that I think that happen, or one of the aspects of the brain function that happens simultaneously, and I'm not aware of the data of simultaneous, and I should be. That's part of my new strategy of engaging my team in understanding the neurogenesis of the cells. And another question that I'm interested in is whether these cells actually create themselves in concomitance in the same real time with neuroplasticity. My hint
Mm.
is my gut feeling, and my from everything I've read and studied, I have a feeling that this is happening at the same time. So one of the ways that we provoke neuroplasticity, changing of the new connections between dendritic connections and axonal connections in the brain, we personally bank on stimulating the retina in real time. So it's a strategic way of approaching the stimulation of the retina, which is rich in dopaminergic receptors. So especially D1 and D3, which we focus on, with specific frequency of the color, frequency of the sound, frequency of the, well, not the sound, sorry. We embed the sound in our neural programs, but from photovoltaic energy level, just the stimulation of the retina happens with different, even details like interstimulus interval, which I studied amply for years. Frequency of the lines on the screen, frequency of the stimulation of with the frequency of the color, of the hue, of the contrast. There are probably more than 60 elements that we include, that one can include. And in good programs, neuro programs, a good neuroscientist will actually pay attention to all of those details instead of just slapping, a video game that he gets a video game creator to create. You need to, in order to be very precise, this element of precision is derived from years. We're talking more than 7 decades of studies that people have, neuroscientists have produced, and they're really this. They have discovered many elements that are so crucial for proper functioning of the retina, of the dopaminergic receptors, for example. And so once you pump that, it's like a pump. You end up pumping a lot of dopamine in your brain, which then also produces BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And once you pump the BDNF, you create this bath of let's say, fertile ground in the brain to create postsynaptic receptors, new dopaminergic buttons, postsynaptic, not only dopaminergic, but receptor buttons. And Eric Kandel received the Nobel Prize for that in 2000 for these kind of discoveries. And some of my colleagues were in his laboratory working with him. That's neuroplasticity. And so once you create that, we know that you can actually create also neurogenesis. So we have preliminary data on neurogenesis. And, one of the objectives that we have is to prove that actually by using the CAT scans and fMRIs and various other methodologies of testing and documenting this progress in double-blind or triple-blind studies, we show that actually you can, with your brain only, with your mind only, or photovoltaic energy and conscious engagement, you can actually create neurogenesis. You can create new neurons, just like you create new genesis of the hair, hair follicles or hair stem cells. We create stem cells all the time, because if you did not, you would not be recreating the cells in the skin or in the repairing the injuries, or you have to create new cells in order to heal the body. And what's another misnomer that we have been taught by allopathic medicine is that certain things cannot be regenerated. We know that they can be regenerated. Even neurons can be, we're recreating neurons as we go. We recreate hair cells, we create nail cells. Those are very evident, we're definitely. So I think reversing the aging, the longevity, both through the brain power and through the, physical exercise, that happens regularly. And that should be taken seriously in consideration, not just blindly believing that we have to age, or we have to go into the next level of dulling our brain. That's absolutely not true. It just depends on how you treat your body and mind.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that this also plays a major role in preventing cognitive decline, right? Because that is also one of
Absolutely.
the major concerns when we talk about longevity or when we talk about anti aging. We often consider, how we might look like when we age and how we want to prevent that. Like, we don't want to have wrinkles, we don't want to have white hair, and probably somewhere energy as well. But what often sort of gets left out is the cognitive decline. And what a lot of people
Yes.
think is that it's normal to have cognitive decline as you age or as you reach a certain age. But with today's technology and the studies and the knowledge that we have, I'm sure that there can be many ways, right, that we can sort of prevent this or at
Absolutely.
least slow it down. And talking about neuroplasticity, it's a very interesting topic. And because a lot of people don't sort of know about it in that much detail. They might have heard about it somewhere or the other, but probably don't know how to sort of work on it in real life, right? And the first reason would be that why should be they work on it? So for me, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but what my perception about it has been for years is like we lead monotonous lives. Like, a lot of us, even for like decades, with the kind of jobs that we have, are the major reasons as well, right? Like, we lead really monotonous life. Like, we wake up and we go to sleep, and everything we do throughout the day we've been doing for like years. And why is it that we need to sort of change some things in that, and how is it that we are sort of working on our neuroplasticity, and sort of what are some takeaways from these, some easy actionables for our audience that we can start working on their neuroplasticity?
It's a very nice question. I love the way you phrased it. So what happens with our being when we're active? We end up feeling stronger and alive. And studies now, many studies show, especially I'm interested in peak performance in sports athletics and peak performance in uh, top performers in CEOs and actors and rock stars, for example. What you need, so these are people who are at the extreme levels of performance. They need to be in optimal form and be able to be, performing on a stage or in front of a live camera, or in front of a live audience, being put on a spot in television or in real life concerts. They need to perform at peak levels, and it's oftentimes very strenuous. These levels are very intense. People have to be extremely disciplined to actually manage that kind of level of cognitive non-decline, but cognitive optimization. And so what I would suggest, and I suggest to my clients oftentimes, and I personally adhere to that schedule too, is have a set routine of the beginning of the day. Not the whole day, just the beginning of the day. And it doesn't have to be tedious. It doesn't have to be long. But if you set up, your inner alarm clock to wake up at a certain hour, be it 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, it doesn't matter. But as long as you get up and you have, a little routine of where you're washing your face and scraping your tongue, doing the oil pulling, doing the, um, gratitude before even you open your eyes. You can say a sentence of gratitude, which takes 1 second, and a statement of, your intention for the day. Today I'm going to make a great day, and something as simple and quick. And then you can do, a little bit of, yoga movements, a few yoga movements, or a few push-ups or pull-ups if you're not into yoga, squats, anything that correlates the strength of the legs and front part of the arms with the brain. And we know now there are numerous studies showing that there is a correlation between slow weight, extreme weight push with the legs to the prevention of the cognitive decline. And there are many more studies now coming out because it's a very fascinating element of our daily life, I think. So you can do that by doing your 10 jumping jacks or 20 push-ups or squats. You go for 30 squats, and you're done for even the beginning of the day. And then if you feel like doing another 30 squats in the afternoon, you do it. But it takes you 2 minutes. It doesn't have to be the gym. It doesn't have to be, one thing or another. But what I would highly suggest is to be mindful about what you're doing with your physical exercise in correlation to your preventative, cognitive prevention of the cognitive decline. So hydration is very important. So I would definitely put, drink not just plain water. You can drink water that is enhanced with trace minerals or with a little bit of salt. A pinch of salt will do it. If you want to be really hydrated, you can put a little bit more aggressively, half a teaspoon of salt. As long as the salt is organic and pure, Celtic salt will do it. Or again, Ian Clark's website sells beautiful salts that are, ocean alive elements that they will also detox you at the same time. So that's really wonderful. And you can pay attention to what you do with your exercise as well. So mindfully putting in place anaerobic as well as aerobic exercise. Interval training like Tabata, maybe on a treadmill. If you're an athlete, you can put it on 7 or 8 and run for 20 seconds at full speed, and then jump on the side and wait for 20 seconds. You do that 6 times. That's a very quick exercise. It's a military exercise, Tabata exercise, but you knock out a lot of aerobic and anaerobic movements at the same time. Slow weight pulling or lifting is really great. Hungarian, Romanian deadlifts, you can do them, again, under a minute. These are all little hacks that one can perform. And cognitively, I think what's really important is to vary everything daily. So not to be involved in the routine, which you were mentioning that before. I think it's incredibly important that we embed joy into all of that. So let's say if you want to do belly dancing, just put your favorite, belly dancer music and the song, and 3 minutes of that will actually do it. Or pop in Michael Jackson or something like that. Just any very intense, beautiful song that will actually get you moving and jumping around without any censorships on how you look like or whatever it is. Just has to feel good. So combining the both hemisphere activation, left and right, with this soul, when you're dancing and hopping around, you're definitely engaging, happiness. There's a joy factor to it, which basically pumps up your endocrine system and neuroendocrine, components, and your serotonin and dopamine rise up. So you can organize yourself that way as well. And again, doesn't have to cost money, doesn't have to be structured. You can actually pop it, in the middle of your work. I would invite everybody to put a timer on and not to be on the, on sedentary levels in front of the computer for more than 45 minutes. And if you have to do it for work, take a break and drop, 20 push-ups, 10 jumping jacks, something. Pop in your favorite music, sing along, laugh. You can look on YouTube. You can find your favorite jokes or silly sites, or on Instagram. There's plenty of that on TikTok. So I would do a lot of little things, little hacks like that. And as long as you vary through the day and embed, engage yourself with the community, engage yourself with friends, join the dance class, join the, if you don't have too many friends, join activities that will actually engage you with many new people, new friends, make new friends, be open. Life
Amazing.
is
We
filled
just
with
another reason to
miracles.
make new friends now. So that's really great. And it's amazing that you put down such simple little hacks, because today we're talking about neuroplasticity and neuropsychology, neurophysiology, cognitive brain function. One would think that these things are going to be very sciencey and technological and very complicated to sort of understand, but it's really so simple. And there's so many amazing hacks that you just mentioned in the last half an hour. It was really incredible, and I'm sure that these are some little things we can definitely start working on for
Absolutely.
sure from moment on. So thank you for sharing that with us. And also, one more thing that I wanted to address when we talk about cognitive brain function and the issues that we might be facing. One of the thing is addressing brain fog. So that is one of the biggest things that a lot of us face,
Yes.
and we feel it's normal. Like, oh, brain fog. Sorry, we use it very lightly. So how do we sort of address this, and can we really get rid of it?
Yes, you can easily get rid of brain fog. So with our system, people get rid of it in one day. We even we reset the brain after concussion in one session, in 1 hour. And that's been documented. We have published our studies in Nature. So that's, we're properly documented. And everything I do and everything my team does is based on serious, long-term database, data-driven, functional medicine-driven, and but always non-invasive. Um, Brain fog happens usually because you have tremendous amount of stress. Your amygdala goes into fight or flight mode, and you're exposed to toxins. So these three nefarious, aspects of everyday life, or sedentary life, for example, as well, embedded in fear, a fear-driven life will actually create that. And also, too much exposure to television. I would invite everybody to turn off the TVs, simply because there are frequencies in TVs that are being used nowadays not for very good purposes. And same way with the blue light from the devices, from the phone. You can buy the screen that goes besides the glasses. You can also just buy the blue light blocking filter that you adhere directly to your iPhone, and they prevent you from that. Cutting down the EMF, you can cut it down through getlambs.com. Is a company that sells the silver lining. They have silver threads inside their t-shirts, and they even sell the sheets, the bed sheets that you can put. I would say turn off your position, your location tracking on your iPhone. You can go into there are plenty of sites that show you on YouTube how to turn off the positioning of the tracking, which then actually is activated even when you turn off your phone at night. So people don't know that hack, but you can actually really prevent your cognitive decline from these nefarious frequencies. Um, there are many, many different ways of doing it. I'll just toss in a few. I don't want to overwhelm your audience, but I'm I have, lots of little hacks that I can share. So one of these things is, so I would buy safesleeve.com, sells the sleeves for cell phones. I would use this kind of, you know,
Wired.
earbuds that are wired full rather than wireless, because if you pop them into your ears, it goes to your brains, your brain, or both hemispheres, and of course it fries your brain. So I would stay away from that. I would also start the day with lemon, throughout the day, either tepid water or regular water with lemon in it. That will detox and that will clean up your mana, you know, negative forces and it will negatively charge. It's alkaline, so it will negatively charge your molecules in your body, your elements in your body, your atoms. So, and again, expose yourself to sunshine at least 15 minutes a day, even if the sky is cloudy. Just go outside and stay in the sun without any kind of sunscreen or glasses. Ditch the sunglasses. That's not very good for you. You need to expose your retina to the sunshine. Not maybe directly, but definitely. And you can sun gaze in the morning and at night, and creates very beautiful. It cleans up the brain fog. Actually, you can plop your water bottle, a liter water bottle with a little bit of salt, outside on your windowsill to be exposed to the sun, and that will also clean up your brain fog. You can put iodine in your water, or a drop of iodine in, like, lemon juice, just a small amount. You can buy, high quality iodine and plop just a little bit of that daily. That will cleanse your mind, your brain, from unwanted. And it binds actually negative elements. So a lot of the times the brain fog happens because of toxicity, and toxicity forms in the inner walls of mitochondria. So you can clean that up through cleanse of the parasites, which is enemas, and any kind of flushes that you can take daily. Cheap flushes, like literally aggressively, I would suggest you do it in the afternoon and clean your afternoon from any tasks. And you go for like 7 hours. You put 1 liter of water and 1 teaspoon of salt, high quality salt. It'll cleanse you. You'll end up being in the bathroom for quite a while, but it'll cleanse you, and cleanse. It helps the cleanse of the parasites, helps the cleanse of the intestine. But what you'll feel at the end, you'll feel clear minded. Then you can take a bath. A formula for the bath that is actually cleansing a lot is borax. It's a detergent, but you can take half a cup of borax, half a cup of sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, in as hot of water as you can tolerate. And then you put betadine, which is basically diatomaceous earth. You can put some diatomaceous earth, like 3 or 4 tablespoons, and Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap. And if you don't have that, you can take liquid Castile soap, just maybe 3 tablespoons, with a little bit of peppermint concentrate, peppermint oil. And that will definitely cleanse you, and stay there for 20 minutes. It'll take out very, very, beautifully and natural way. It'll take out your toxicity, even heavy metals. If you want to go further than that, you can buy alfalfa dried cubes. You can wrap it into some sort of like a gauze, or cheesecloth, tighten it, and
Right.
put that in the bathtub and soak in that, because that'll draw the nanoparticles out, because it's high in proteins, and nanoparticles prefer that kind of protein. Alfalfa is very rich in protein, so they'll grow there. And so the only thing you have to be very careful after that kind of bath, you have to exit the bath very quickly and go into the shower and shower yourself and scrub yourself with diatomaceous earth and peppermint soap. Scrub yourself really, really well, and then put very thick gloves on you and scrub your bathtub really well with diatomaceous earth and borax, and you'll clean it up. So these are elements that can then, and then I would suggest, if somebody is really suffering from brain fog a lot, to go on intermittent fasting, of like 18 to 24 hours. And I would also say a product called Lion's Mane by Host Defense is very
Right.
good in tincture, so that you can actually bypass the gut and you can just put it underneath your tongue. So you're absorbing it through the salivary gland. I would definitely use Cognitives by Life Extension. I don't get paid for any of that. This is all just stuff that I suggest to people to use, and because it's healthy. And astragalus, herb farm organic astragalus without
Right.
alcohol. Astragalus is really great for potentiation of brain function. And phosphatidylserine, I use PS100 by Jarrow. Again, very inexpensive. If somebody has like a signs of depression or serotonin levels are not high, I would definitely go for 5-HTP and for borage oil capsules. So all of these things are, over the counter. They're easy. They're quick. You can use them, and hopefully you're taking notes so that this is an information packed correspondence right now. So
Absolutely. I mean, this was just amazing because in terms of brain fog, the max I've ever heard anyone talk about is fasting, one of the major things, hydrating. Nothing apart from that, like the list that you mentioned right now. So that's just crazy good. I'm sure that a lot of our listeners haven't even tried any of these things. So this is very insightful for me also personally. I mean, it's the first time I'm listening to this. So I really can't wait to
yes.
sort of apply some of these things right away. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, you're
And
welcome.
well, moving on, I have last two aspects to cover in today's episode. One of them being a gym for the brain, which you also talk about a lot. And I mean, I
Yes.
have sort of, been to workshops and been introduced to this a little bit somewhere or the other. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it does include a lot of whole brain integration and also a lot of other things, right? And also you that mentioned that about doing some new movement every single day or exposing all our senses to new experiences, new visuals, new sounds, in certain ways also helps in that. So I would love to get more insight on this and how is it that someone can really create a gym for their brain.
So, yeah, besides these, organized exercises I already mentioned, again, I would go in small bursts. Interval training is always much more valuable than not. And anaerobic training is really the gym for the brain. Forget about running for 30 minutes. If you do run, go on intervals, high intensity intervals, like put your treadmill or go for sprints, 50-meter sprint, and then stop. Don't even walk.
Right.
Just stop for like literally, maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and then go for a very, very high intensity sprint and then stop and repeat that 6 times. That'll go a longer way than just simply running for 30 minutes for the brain. Another thing that one should be doing with exercise is have high protein, almost like a keto nourishment within 20 minutes after the exercise, because
Hmm.
human growth factor is potentiated that way. So that's a brain hack that really works. I would say definitely hydrate with salt water, because that's really important, and make sure that you don't ingest sugar. A lot of these supplements that we take, they're rich in sugar. Even if they have maybe 9 grams of sugar, that's already too much. So it's better to make it yourself, like, with water and a drop of iodine, rather than just buying, fancy supplements that will not really, fully deliver the performance the way that we can actually create at home. Another thing that we do, I'm providing now, setting up the web on my website. We're providing different lessons and classes that one can purchase at the very, regular kind of levels, and it's a series of intensified protocols that I tailor for peak performance athletes, especially for then just focus and memory. We're exiting now with one with intensified focus and memory for peak performance. Then there'll be, we're rolling out the peak performance for athletes, peak performance for artists, peak performance for CEOs, for entrepreneurs. They're all slightly different. They require different regimes. They require
Hmm.
different titration. They require different approach to everything. Somebody who needs to manage 600 people daily and perform on television will need different type of supplements and will need different type of approach to life than an athlete who is preparing for, let's say, Olympic game. That's a totally different zone in which you want to position your not only your brain but your photovoltaic energy.
Right.
Again, I go back to the human cloud. And so these are little hacks. And of course, if somebody wants to train with us, we're available long distance and not with Think interfaces, with Think system. And it works. It works in long distance. It heals the pain as well, and gives you the capacity to actually hyperactivate your brain. And so your brain or photovoltaic energy is, holistically activated at many levels. So these are just some elements that I would suggest.
Amazing. And like you well said, that this works within also a few hours, right? Like you've had people come to you and who have experienced, their sort of consultation with Think interfaces, and it has really made a difference in just an hour or so. And that's great. Like, do you also have people who come right before a big meeting or a big event, or sometimes that
Yes.
they really would, does it also work that way?
Yeah. Well, like I said before the big meeting, so there are people at Harvard University that studied various groups. So these studies have been published now. And one interesting part that I really appreciated and I use with my peak performance performers in general is a combination of eliciting through hacks, dopamine, balancing dopamine and serotonin, elevating the activation of nervus vagus, the 10th cranial nerve, bilaterally. It has to be done bilaterally. And also elevating oxytocin. So the studies usually don't combine all of these elements with oxytocin. So I suggest to people, and these are not my studies. Our studies have shown certain combination of activation of nervus vagus and dopamine and balancing of bilateral activation of cerebellum, small brain in the back, and frontal parietal activation of the dopaminergic circuits. So I don't want to be too technical, but that means that you can ingest certain type of things before the meeting or before you enter into something. So
Hmm.
train yourself to swap coffee with matcha latte, non-sweetened
Right.
matcha latte, and which will avoid the drop in serotonin after a certain while, and it'll avoid the drop in insulin. So avoid sugars at all costs. And 1 hour before, you can take a little bit of like a protein. And I would say just go for high proteinic smoothie that you can embed. If you can, put into it liquid oxygen. It's a very, very useful hack. Chlorophyll, extremely useful hack. And I use these by Sun Life Organics. I usually put like Blue Magic in there, which is, again, spirulina or
Hmm.
blue green algae, which you can get again on bulk. You can get them, and the blue green algae really provides a lot of nutrients for your brain. And so that would be just like maybe an hour before. You don't want to go on full stomach. Just before the meeting, you can choose 3 statements that you can read from the piece of paper. Let's say, I'm going to make it a great meeting. I'm going to make
Right.
eye contact with my, human in front of me. And one of the beautiful Vedic hacks is find something in their face, even if it's an unpleasant meeting. Let's say you're going into a meeting, you know that you're going to get fired. Believe in miracles, go in and find one thing on that person's face or on their person's body that you like and focus on that. You'd be surprised how many times magic happens because we are much more than just words. We're energy. So if you're transmitting beautiful energy that is, you're harmonizing with this H cloud of this other person. So you're offering them love and light through just gentle thought of, okay, I really like your eyes. They're beautifully expressive. I really like your long hair. It shines. It's healthy. Things like that. And while you're talking to them, get engaged, make eye contact, smile. Just before the meeting, put your hands in the victory position. The elevated both hands in a V. Any athlete across the globe will have, once they go, if they're runners, once they finish the run, they'll elevate their hands in victory position, and that is shown to be a source of oxytocin, immediate elevation of oxytocin. And there was a study done by a lady by a doctor at Harvard. She studied oxytocin levels and outcome of the performance of the hiring of the clients, new force tasks. And they found out that those people who actually spent time elevating their hands, their arms in the position of the victory position, they actually increase their capacity to be hired. So those are little hacks before the you know meeting, and I think they do work. They do work really wonderfully well. So essentially, just take some proteinic charge an hour before. Do not look at your iPhone 10 minutes before. Spend 2 minutes in oxytocin charge. Make sure that you take some matcha, and and you can also take some Cognitex or a strong tea. Earl Grey is always a good solution, and all of that will get you to the point. If you tend to be nervous, I would say take some ashwagandha before, sublingually, and astragalus always works very well without side effects of jitteriness. So you're in your peak zone.
Amazing. Amazing. These are some really great hacks. I mean, I didn't even think of these in this perspective. So thank you for sharing these. And I'm sure that a lot of people can use this in their daily lives instead of sort of, being in a fight or flight mode before a big major event or major meeting every single day and having that stress on your nervous system, right? So this really works. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And the last
You're
thing that I want
welcome.
to talk about, address over here, is dopamine, understanding dopamine and dopa hacks. If you already have not given us the dopa hacks that you always talk about, then that. Otherwise, however, that you want to address this.
I think essentially, dopamine can be elicited with a lot of things. On my Instagram, Dr. Lana Morrow, there are a series of dopa hacks that one can actually use for elevating dopamine. I think that's the biggest and the easiest way of addressing it. Just all these hacks that I was mentioning now, they also elevate dopamine very nicely. And again, avoid stress. Avoid, breath work does it. Even if it's 5-5-5, simple 5 seconds in, 5 seconds hold, 5 seconds out through the mouth. Or you can do the same with nasal breathing. And that really helps a lot.
These are some really great hacks, and I do encourage our audience to definitely reach out to you and your profile and go through the dopamine hacks and the amazing content that you've been
Wonderful.
posting recently. So that would be a great resource to have. So thank you for sharing that with
Yeah.
us.
Thank you so much, and
And as
thank
we
you for the
conclude today's
time.
episode, is there any last message or thoughts that you'd like to leave us with?
Sending all the blessings to everybody. Stay in the high vibration, elevate your frequencies as much as you can. Remember that fear is no good. So if you can get yourself to be in loving moments every hour of the day, just simply, love everybody, love yourself, and just um, even just a moment of looking outside and saying, thank you, universe, for this peaceful moment, and I send love and light to everybody. That goes a big, it goes a long way. It's just stay in a uppity, high vibration if you can. It's going better and better in life. I think we're all elevating our consciousness. We're all, whether we want it or not, we're going to the next level.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And with this, we conclude our episode today. That is it for today's episode. And for the ones who'd like to reach out to you, know more about you or about Think Interfaces, you can find the details in the description below. So definitely reach out and
Yes.
learn more about this amazing new technology and these researches. I'm sure that you will keep sharing a lot of new stuff on your Instagram as well. So I do encourage everybody to go and follow you right away. That's it for today's episode. I am Sakshi Pawar, and I'll be your host for the Settle
Thank
or
you
Be Better
so much.
podcast. So stay tuned while we bring more inspiring stories. You know the drill. Subscribe to the Settle or Be Better podcast, like, share, and comment on our videos. And oh, hit the bell icon because you don't want to miss the mind boggling health discussions we're about to bring for you. Why settle when you can be better?